tagged me in a story.
It was me.
Podcast time?
Yeah.
I know you did. Yeah, I saw it was you. All right, so this one's going to be a short one.
Yeah.
It's the morning. It's the first time we've done one in the morning, I think.
Yeah.
And basically all I wanted to do, I didn't have like a lot of like outlines for this episode. I want to talk about the 6 series.
Yes.
The acquisition.
If you know, you know.
Wow. All right, so for those who don't know, a lot has happened in the last week. Has it been a week already? Yeah, I guess it has. So I acquired a should I tell the story or should I just
tell the story? Just start from square one.
So for those who don't know, we're getting right into this, by the way. Welcome. LUDWICK'S PODCAST. Here we go, right into it. I had my BMX bike in the backseat of my car in the Jetta. When it's nice out, it's usually just always in my car. Because if I end up heading out of town and it's a nice day and I go by a skate park, I'll just cruise or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was just running errands in town and had my bike with me. And it's been getting nicer out here in New Hampshire. And Meredith, my hometown here, had just, going into winter last year, just finished a new concrete skate park here in town. And it's not that big. I mean, I'm really hoping they do a lot more. It's tiny. But now that it's been getting warmer, I haven't ridden it yet because they finished it right at the beginning of winter and it was too cold. So there's been a lot of kids down there and it's real small. So every now and then when I drive by, I'm thinking of stopping to ride for a few minutes and it's just too packed. I'm like, no, some other day. So I was coming back from in town running errands last week at some point, and there was only like 2 kids at the skate park and I was driving by, had my bike with me. I'm thinking maybe I'll stop and ride for a little bit. And then I was like, nah, I've got stuff to do. So I drove by the park.
Yep.
And then something inside me was like, just pull a U-turn and go back and ride for a little bit. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. So I pulled a U-turn, went back to the skate park, and my friend Nick was at the park, and he's a local skateboarder. I hadn't seen him in a few years. He's like 5 or 6 years younger than me. So he was always like one of the little kids at the skate park when I was riding full time.
Yeah.
But he was always a shredder. I mean, dare I say, if he had really focused on it, pro level skateboarder.
That's awesome.
Pro level. I mean, the kid's like really, really good. So anyway, he's there. He's like 30 now. You know, I'm 36. And so we're just kind of catching up, talking about stuff. And his father passed away a couple years ago, and he kind of inherited the family farm / campground up in northern New Hampshire, up in the woods. They have like a small, modest little campground. It's not like a drive your RV in campsites. It's like you can come and tent there, and there's great views of the Ossipee mountain range, and it's a cool little spot. So anyway, as we're catching up, I knew his father had passed. His father was here in town. My parents knew him and stuff. And he's like, yeah, things are well. Since my dad passed, I've taken over the camp. I'm trying to like get it back to its former glory and get, more people coming to the campground in the summer and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
So he's cleaning it up. And so he goes, this isn't exactly what he said, but for people who haven't heard the story yet, I'll make it pretty vague. But he's like, you're into old cars, right? I'm like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I see you messing on, like on Facebook and Instagram. I see you messing with cars. I'm like, yeah, for sure I'm into cars. And he goes, well, my dad had a car that he drove for a while in the 90s and then just parked. And it's been sitting out back behind one of the buildings up at the campground for years. And I'm cleaning out that part of the campground. He goes, I just need to get the junk out of there. Is it something you're interested in? And I was like, well, like, what is it?
Yeah.
He told me the make, and we're obviously going to get to that. He told me the make, but he couldn't tell me what year. I'm like, what model? He goes, no idea. Cars aren't his thing. He's like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so is it like old? He's like, I don't know, looks old. And I'm like 1950s or 60s old? Because now I'm thinking, knowing the brand, I'm like, if this is 50s or 60s, like,
yeah, of course.
I don't care what kind of shape it's in. And so he's like, no, I really don't know. And I'm like, well, send me some photos of it, maybe we can work a deal out. And so we left, I went home, and I wasn't thinking much of it. Like later that evening, I thought about it, and I'm like, maybe I'll text him to remind him. But then I thought, no, this is just some like rot box car that's not worth my time. I got too much on right now. Yeah. Got the Polo and everything else. So I'm like, no, I can't have another project. Oh, why am I even hiding what manufacturer it is? I literally just said the 6 series.
Yeah.
This is how crazy this like life has been lately. A light bulb just went off. Anyone that's listening, like you just said before you started telling the story, you're talking about the E24.
I was letting you run with it.
I need direction.
Don't look at me for direction.
Yeah. So he had a 6 series.
Surprise, it's a BMW.
Yeah, surprise, some fries. So, yeah. Oh my gosh, this is how crazy my brain is right now. Yeah, I'm like, he told me the make, but I'm not gonna tell you. It's like you just said it was a 6 Series. Okay, so anyway, backing up, not knowing what model BMW this was or what year.
Yeah, you just said BMW.
Yeah, he's like, you're in old BMWs, right? So now I'm telling the story more accurately.
Yeah,
that I'm not keeping anyone in suspense on the edge of their seat.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm in old BMWs. And like, he couldn't tell me what year or anything like that. What model? I'm like, is it a 3 Series, a 5 Series, 7 Series? I'm like, I have no idea. I'm like, all right. So anyway, that night, I thought about texting him to get some photos. And I was like, no, you know what? This is like an 02 E39 silver 4-door 6-cylinder with an automatic in it that's rotted out. And I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah, he couldn't pay you to take it.
Nope, yeah. I'm not going to go up there to get that thing. It's not even worth my time. It's like an hour drive from here. I'm like, no, it's not worth my time.
Yeah.
So I didn't even text him. I'm like, whatever, it doesn't matter. So the next day, I'm in the shop and I am taking the factory springs off the Polo strut assemblies. So I've got them jigged into the wall-mounted spring compressor, and I've got them like locked in, and I'm just like tightening the thing down nice and slow. And while I'm cranking this thing down, I'm just contemplating the conversation that Aiden and I had on the podcast. And obviously you were there in the room. We've had conversations like this 100 times over.
Yeah, of course.
But I was just thinking about that particular conversation, about how I was talking about how I found the green E23, how you ultimately found the white 745 that had the side skirts on it that I'd searched the world for 2 years in a junkyard an hour from my house on a Euro 745 that had been imported from Germany. Like, and how Aiden had found that E30 with the full BBS body kit on it in a junkyard.
Yep.
And I was just contemplating that. And in that conversation in the podcast, we were talking about how those cars are still out there.
Oh yeah,
just
the
waiting.
Stories are still out there.
They're lying in wait, waiting for somebody to like be in town at a skate park or at a diner, and someone go, you know, I got like this old car out back. You should come take a look. You know, won't want much for it. You should just come and take a look at it. And I'm thinking about all that, and I'm thinking, what if this is one of those scenarios? And this is what's so crazy, because obviously this is what it ultimately turned into being. But like, I'm thinking, you know, it's more than likely just some junk car that's not worth my time to even go look at. But what if this is what if I am on the brink of one of those stories?
Yeah, because you don't know until you get there.
And I'm thinking, what if northern woods of New Hampshire? What if it's just something that is worth my time? So the next day, as I'm cranking this spring compressor down, I'm like, I'll just text him. So I was technically through Facebook Messenger. I didn't even have his number. So I messaged him. I just reminded him. I said, hey man, if you get a chance today, why don't you send me some of those photos? So an hour later, I'm on the phone with someone, just had him on speakerphone, and those photos come in. So at this point, I have no idea what this thing is.
Yeah. And
as I'm talking, I open up the photos and stop mid-sentence as I realize what it is. And not only is it an E24 6 Series, but in the I don't say poor photos, but in the photos that he sent me, the first shot is like a rear quarter shot, and it's obvious it's a Euro model.
Yeah.
Euro rear bumper, Euro side trim. It's a Euro E24 immediately. Second photo is the front end. Now the front end's got quite a bit of damage, but the bumper isn't damaged. Euro bumper, Euro like OEM plus valence. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is a Euro E24. Unbelievable. So then he had a couple interior photos, interior's roached. I mean, the rear quarter shot photo, you could see the registration sticker on the plate, and it was 1998. The car had been sitting for 23 years.
Crazy.
Or I hadn't been on the road in 23 years. So the interior is pretty bad. Dash is ripped. Seats are torn. I mean, there's just like mouse homes everywhere. It's just junk in the car. But I'm thinking like I got to make a deal with him on this. So I messaged him back. Again, I don't have his number. And all I said was, what's your phone number? I'll give you a shout real quick.
Yep.
And it took like an hour, or I'd say like 20 or 30 minutes. It felt like an eternity. But because I'm like, I gotta go. I'm going right now. Yeah. I'm dropping everything. I'm leaving the spring and the spring compressor like compressed. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And so he didn't get back to me for a little bit, what felt like days. He didn't get back to me right away, and I didn't have his number. So I'm like, oh. And if he's anything like me, he doesn't check the Facebook Messenger messages. Like, I need to take this moment to apologize to anyone who's messaged me on Messenger in the last like 5 years, because I don't even I don't even have the push notifications.
Yeah.
And it's a separate app. So every now and then I'll go there and I'm like, oh, this is overwhelming. And I just go out of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he might be like that. So I said, what if he's one of those kids that years and years and years ago put his cell phone number in his like about me in the, like more info about, this person. So I went in there and sure enough, there was a phone number in there and I'm like, what if that's still his number? So I called it and sure enough, he answered and I said, hey man, if you're around, I'd come up, take a look at that car. And I was pretty transparent. I said, it's something I'd be interested in.
Of course.
For sure.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, man, I'm around. So I called my dad and I'm like, you want to go help me pull another, because I didn't know what kind of operation this was going to be. And my dad has been there for all of the extrications.
Yeah, he knows.
Yep.
As soon as he saw the phone ringing, he knew.
Yeah.
He's like, what are we going to get today?
So we went up there and and it's just sitting out back behind this building. And it looks like the damage that was done to the front end was done while it was sitting there.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
The whole, it's as if they took, because it's a shark nose car, it's as if they took a chain and wrapped it around the nose of the car and just pulled with a tractor and it didn't come. And it just like ripped the whole, because the whole metal structure of the front end of the car is gone.
Yeah.
But they somehow left the bumper alone, which is
know.
Incredible because that's worth like $2,000. It's worth over $1,000. So anyway, we get there and I'm beside myself. It's a manual too, I should say. It's a manual gearbox. E24. And to go even one farther, the emblem was like on the ground, like unbroken, and it was a 635 CSI.
Yes.
And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. It's a Euro 635 CSI car with a manual gearbox.
It's one of those stories.
So we're looking it over. I'm kind of freaking out. It's in rough shape, but it's all there. It's all there. And it's on Mil Miglia Didier 16x8 aluminum like motorsport wheels.
Super cool looking wheels.
Yeah. So anyone who doesn't know, or hasn't seen the YouTube video, because I documented us going to get this car before I even saw it in person for the first time. They kind of look like Sentras.
Yeah, they do. Like I thought they were at first.
Like the shower drain Sentras. So did I.
Yeah.
Yeah. I even said that they were Sentras before I took the hubcap off and realized what they were. The Mil Miglia wheels are kind of rare too.
Yeah.
I've only been able to find a couple articles about them on the internet, but they're made in Italy. So anyway, the car looks good for the damage and the neglect and the wear and tear and how knackered the thing was. It just looked good. Like it's all there.
Yeah.
So we loaded it up. It rolled. The tires held air. We put air in the tires and it rolled. We have a winch on my dad's open trailer, so we winched it on. I should note too, as we were getting the air in the tires and getting the thing kind of up out of the ground that it had sunken into, there's just junk everywhere in this part of the campground. And there's a ride-on 5-lug Craftsman mower, like one of the big V-twin ones, sitting behind the 6 Series. And my dad jokingly says, because Nick is saying how he's trying to get rid of everything out back there. And my dad's like, well, I got 2 of the small version of that Craftsman there. And Nick goes, take that. And my dad kind of laughs. And how come my dad? I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he's serious.
Yeah.
Take it. And he's like, oh, we don't have room for it. And on the trailer. And I was like, we brought my van.
Yeah.
Like, this is why I bought a van.
Exactly.
So sure enough, we got that thing like freed up and out of the hole that it had sunken into, and found some boards as planks, and we rolled that thing up into the back of my van with the mower deck and everything.
Yeah.
Nick's like, that thing hasn't run in years, probably as long as that BMW. So we loaded that in the van, loaded the 6 Series up, and brought the thing home, and immediately wanted to dive into that car. But I'm in the middle of this Polo build that has to be done so we can get to Georgia in 3 weeks. So I'm like, it's been killing me that it's now behind my house sitting. The air has stayed in the tires. It stayed up. It doesn't have like a worn suspension. It sits well and it looks really good. And I've been really wanting to dive into that car to just to kind of diagnose what it was dealing with, why it was parked in the first place.
I mean, it sat for 23 years, a couple more months,
Yeah,
it'll be okay.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, it won't do any more damage than what's already there.
Yeah.
But so I haven't really dove in, but what I have dove into was learning more about what this specific car is. And it's pretty insane.
It is insane. Like, it is. It's
unbelievably rare. And so it's a Series 1 E24. So this is a pre-82. So this is basically 76 to 81. This is an 81. So this is the last year of the Series 1 E24. Now, lots of people will argue that that the facelift Series 2 E24 is the better car. And it kind of is. I mean, BMW fixed a lot of things. The Series 1 was based on the E12 5 Series chassis.
Yep.
And then the Series 2 was based on the E28 chassis. And it had less rust issues. It had less issues in general.
Better suspension ergonomics.
Yes,
and
exactly.
all that. Yeah.
Yep. So it was just a better car. And that's why they changed everything in 82 to make it a better car.
Yeah.
But the Series 1 cars are more rare. There's not a lot of them around.
Yeah.
So this is an 81, last year of the Series 1. It's still got the import tag on the door jamb, for when it was imported. It came over before it was 25 years old, so it's got rear non-OEM like side markers screwed into the fender, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. It was a gray market car in the 80s.
Yeah, they had to be there, yeah.
It probably came over when it was brand new, because that's what a lot of these companies were doing. But that being said, it's a German market car, 81. Everything in the interior is in German. It's got a mile per hour cluster put in it because that's what had to be done when it came stateside before it was 25 years old or when it was new. So it doesn't have the kilometer cluster anymore. It's got a mile per hour one.
Yep.
But that was that was standard procedure when a car like that came over. But what's real crazy is being an 81 635 CSI with a manual. All information, and shout out to Balthazar at BMW in Munich, Germany.
That's right.
Gave me some like codes, like some engine and transmission codes and stuff. And even from what I correlated to that on the internet, it looks like that car won't be an M30 B35. It'll be an M90.
Yes.
Which is the big six, bigger bore, bigger stroke, which is basically the same block as the M88-1, the M motor. So from what I've been able to understand, and I knew a little bit about the M90 before this car, because I thought my E23, which was an 81 Euro spec car, was also an M90.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It was an M30 B35. But the M90 shares the same block as the M88 with from what I know, a modified M30 head.
Yeah.
So it's basically a hybrid M88 motor. But better still, it should have the 265/5 5-speed gearbox in it, which is a dogleg gearbox.
Yes.
And for those who don't know, if you're still this far into this episode, that a dogleg gearbox is specifically designed for road racing. And first gear is all by itself down and towards you. And then you cross your H pattern up to second and then straight back for third. Because when you're racing a car, whether or not it's on the street or on a road course, your gears are second and third.
Second and third.
So they line them right up. So you're not crossing a pattern and possibly downshifting or when you shouldn't be or whatever. So that's what, and I started to get butterflies thinking about all this. I'm like, this is insane. This is a Euro market CSI pre-facelift Series 1 E24 with the M90 and a dogleg gearbox in it. Mind blown.
Yep.
Mind blown.
One of those stories, man.
And so, well, you were here last weekend. We were just kind of putting around in the car, and the clutch is stuck to the firewall. So at some point, it lost its master or slave cylinder. And I'm hoping that was I'm hoping that's all that was wrong with the car.
Could be.
Who knows? But that being said, it's like you couldn't really run through the gears, obviously without the thing running. But the linkage was just kind of like stuck, hadn't been moved in 20 years.
Yeah.
And we got it freed up just by sitting in the car and moving it around. And then there's no pattern on the shift knob. There's no pattern on the dash. Like the old 2002s and early E12s had an actual shift pattern on the dash.
Yeah, even your E23 did, right? I feel like I remember it was under the radio, I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it did. Yep. So this doesn't.
Yeah.
So that would have been real easy. Like, oh, look, it's got a dogleg gearbox in it. Well, the second we started moving around to the gears, it was obvious.
Very obvious.
Very obvious.
Yep.
Over and up reverse, over and down first, and then there's 4 more H pattern gears. And it's not a 6-speed.
It's crazy.
Holy cow. Unbelievable. So I haven't cross-referenced numbers. I haven't looked for numbers on the block or anything to concur that or to verify that it's an M90, but it's looking like it.
Yeah.
It's a stock drivetrain with a dog box in it. I mean, can we just absorb that for a second? I make a U-turn to go back to the skate park because something inside me just says, just go putt around for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The park's not too busy. And a day later, the next day, I'm bringing home a Euro market dogleg box M90 powered E24 CSI car. I mean, that's just so crazy.
Yeah.
So let's go back. standing there with the spring compressor, zoning out in La La Land, thinking, what if what Nick has up there is one of those stories? I thought maybe it was a 2002. Maybe it's even a late model. Maybe it's a square taillight 2002.
Yeah.
And it's just worth bringing home because it's cool. And he's not going to want a lot for it. He's trying to clean his yard out.
Yeah.
So I would never have guessed it was what was there.
You couldn't have guessed.
No.
No,
it's
never.
so far beyond, like, that's almost, I mean, for what the car would be worth, it's like, I argue, because I like the weird stuff, I almost argue that that's a cooler find than finding an M6 sitting there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the M6 is like the coveted one just because it's an M6.
Of course.
But to me, a pre-M6 car with a dog box, 'cause I don't even think the M6, not in America, I don't think the M6s here in the U.S. market came with a dog-leg gearbox.
No, I don't think so.
Normal
No.
5-speed. That's it. Normal pattern. So this car has, in my opinion, has more. It doesn't have the M88 with the ITBs or anything like that, but it's like got more like motorsport in its veins, in my opinion. Yeah. But I don't know. So it's just so crazy to think that that's what that story actually was. And I was contemplating it. Like, what if this is a story? Like, I'm trying to pipe myself up to get the motivation to call Nick. I can't believe it. So the YouTube video, for anyone just listening on audio, if you go to the YouTube videos, I actually documented getting this car and bringing it home and talking about it. And in that video, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it because I didn't know what it was.
Right.
I figured it was just an 81 Euro 6 Series, and it's got some rust. It's been sitting for so long. So in the video, I end with kind of talking about what I really want to do. But midway through the video, I had people like throwing their phones out their windows because I was saying like, that I'm going to sell the die-to-your wheels. I'm going to pull the bumpers. I'm going to sell all the Euro trim.
Yeah.
I'm going to part it out and make all the money like right away and then put that money into another project.
Yeah.
Because the car is kind of rusty. And then immediately, and I should say it's got the original factory BMW Recaros in it.
Yes.
So at the end of the video, I'm like, we got 3 options here. 1, I part it out, sell the Euro bits to someone who's got a US spec car, even a US spec M6, wants all the Euro bits. Or 2, I sell the car as a whole to somebody who just wants a parts car or is ambitious to restore it. Or option 3, and there's like 200 comments on the YouTube video.
That's
and
awesome.
Every single one says option 3.
Yeah, of course.
I said, do I keep the car and go through it and not restore it, but preserve it?
Save it.
Get the mechanicals running, get it running and driving, build coilovers for it, build period correct BBS motorsport wheels for it, and build an outlaw car out of it.
Absolutely.
Like leave the body, leave the interior, clean it up. Like leave the tears in the old Recaros, the cracks in the dash. Like leave it as if it's a preservation build and drive the doors off the thing.
Absolutely.
And so that's how I finished the video. I was like, I think we're all thinking option 3, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's what I'm going to go with.
Yep.
And so that is what I'm doing. Like by the time I figured out what exactly that car was, I'm like, this is, as long as I don't find myself getting in too deep over my head with what might be lurking in that car as an unknown.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is going to be a future project. And it's okay if it's going to be a slow burn, but by the time that car's running and driving and on the road, those early model CSIs with the dog boxes are going to be so much money.
Of course.
So much money.
I mean, they already are.
All my friends from Europe were like, you don't understand how rare that car is here in Europe. And they're like, those things are selling, obviously not in that condition, but like just drivers are selling for like mid-20s right now. It's bonkers.
It really is.
And that's not the end game for me, but I'm just happy that I saved it.
Yep.
That it's like.
Yeah, because anyone else could have come and got it and crushed it, not knowing what it was.
Yeah. So I told Nick that. I said, Nick, I didn't know what I was going to do with the car when I first got it, but you need to know that like, because he's not in the cars. It's not like he really cared that his father's car, because his father's got a bunch of junk. There aren't any other BMWs.
Yeah.
There's just a bunch of like dump trucks out there and stuff. But, I said, for what it's worth, that car went to a good home. And I'm going to do my best to get it back on the road and drive it. But if I don't, it's going to go to someone who will.
Yes.
And so he was super excited about that. And he got back to me a couple of days later and said, hey, my dad never kept any records for any of the cars he had. Like he was just kind of flew by the seat of his pants. But I found a folder with a bunch of receipts and records of that car. And I was like, oh, please. Because like Balthazar in Munich was saying that BMW didn't start keeping like factory records through VIN deciphering until like the E34 and E46 chassis.
Yeah.
So anything pre E34 or E46, You can't like, there's no database for the Classic Center BMW that you can look up the VIN and be like, oh, this is its history, this is where it was sold, or whatever, this is what it was ordered for the options or whatever. So you could like, the car would tell a history where you're like, oh, okay, well, it didn't come with those seats. So at some point, someone put the BMW Recaros in it. So having these receipts and any sort of paperwork with the car was like super key. So as I'm looking through the receipts, sure enough, there's work orders and invoices from the Courier boys up the street here.
So cool.
Which didn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
It's a Euro Market 6 Series that was in my area.
Yeah, from this area. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Courier brothers who have the BMW shop up the street here, who were importing gray market cars in the 80s.
True.
Who didn't import this one, it doesn't look like. But they worked on it. And before I got the paperwork, I even saw Rick Courier at his shop like a few days before Nick brought the stuff by, and I said the guy's name, like, hey, do you remember Nick's dad? I said, he had a Euro 6 Series. And he goes, yeah, it was blue, right? And I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. He goes, well, it's been a long time. I said, yeah, it looks like it was parked in 98.
Yeah.
So I got the folder. So Rick remembered the car, and we talked about it a bunch. And then, so I'm looking through these receipts, and all the receipts are dated like 94, 95, 96. They did plug wires, they do sensors, they did a crank sensor, a bunch of different stuff. And then there were receipts in there from Steve.
Yeah.
The guy I got my BMW 700 from.
So crazy.
So Steve had like a business like selling BMW parts, and he'd work on cars, but he had like this tiny little shack garage with like a pit in it with no lift. Mm-hmm. But back in the 90s, he was working on BMWs. And there's more receipts of work that Steve did on that car than the Courier boys.
Yeah.
Which is wild. So it's pretty crazy to see a lot of these handwritten notes from Steve about, the things that he was solving on the car and things that he was fixing and whatnot. So it really kind of told a story, which is really cool. And the last registration is in there, 1998.
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool to kind of put all those pieces to the puzzle together.
Yeah, it's so crazy. It's come full circle, the car.
Yeah. And I've seen Rick since then. I said, I've got a bunch of year-old receipts from the 90s. And that Steve, they know Steve, obviously. I'm like, and Steve worked on the car too, which is just so crazy. But I'm mega excited to get to the point where I'm ready to work on that car. I'd like to get back on the cab over first, obviously. But the Sixer, if I'm driving that car next summer, that'd be unbelievable.
That'd be crazy, man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I wanted to catch everybody up to speed on the Sixer. I could take the next hour and just be like, it's so crazy. And just continue to say what it is.
I know.
Because I still have a hard time letting it sink in as well. So that was really cool. Crazy development. Never knowing something like that's next door. And it's been sitting there for 23 years. Like under an hour up the road from me. Right up the street from where my grandparents used to live.
Yeah.
So that car was parked in 98. In 2000, I remember Y2K, New Year's Eve. I was up at my grandparents' house for New Year's Eve because we all thought the computers were going to shut off.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
So my grandparents, they didn't live off the grid, but they had like a farm up in northern New Hampshire where it was like, you're in the woods.
Yeah, you could survive.
Yeah, and not knowing that literally a few miles up the street, that 6 Series was sitting there then.
Dude.
When I was 15 years old.
It's so crazy to think about.
It's wild. And you get this weird sense of like frustration where you look at all the rot in the car and you look at like all the damage and you're like, if I'd only known 15 years ago, I would have went and gotten it.
Yeah.
Like all this wear and tear is completely unnecessary and was completely avoidable. But you can't turn back the clocks of time.
No, and at least you have it now.
Yeah.
And it is technically saved now. So
yeah. So that's the glass half full. The glass half empty is like, I just could have. And there's like a 60 by 40 metal building within like, I mean,
pushing distance.
30 feet. Yeah, 30 feet. It could have just been rolled inside.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So Robert from Lufttechnik had called me about that car before I made it public knowledge that I was going to keep the car. And he called me and he goes, he'd been poking around quietly about that car.
Yeah.
And not knowing I'd found out more about it, he calls me and goes, about that 6 Series, you ought to just keep that car. That's got the big 6 in it, probably a dog box. He goes, it seems like a real rare car because you ought to keep it and do your treatment to it. And I said, I'm 2 steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's exactly what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I said, I'm envisioning like outlaw car, super low, aggressive driver car, and coils, not bags.
Yep.
Just the way that car was meant to be driven. And Robert was like, that's it. Don't touch the interior.
Yeah.
Leave the dash, leave the seats. Just drive it as the relic it was.
Absolutely.
Just spruced up with new blood in its veins,
Put that Alpina steering wheel you got in there. Yeah.
Yep. So I've got a B9 4-spoke Momo Alpina steering wheel
Used.
that came out of, now this wheel Alpina put in like the 3, the 5. They didn't make specific wheels for specific model BMWs, but this wheel started life in an 81 E23 735 Alpina car.
Yeah.
A B9.
It's crazy.
3.5. Which is wild because that was before Alpina. It was before 81 was real early Alpina, and like for the 7 Series. And it was before, from what I read and from what I heard from Alpina themselves, because we were trying to decipher the VINs on this car. Mm-hmm. It was a friend of a friend that was selling it, and I was trying to get rid of my 735 in order to acquire this one.
Yeah.
But it was in a little rougher shape than mine, and the guy wanted like 20 grand for it. I didn't know I was going to ultimately get 20 grand for my car.
I know.
A couple years later, but and that car had a dog box in it. Manual 5-speed dog box in a 7 Series with the black Recaro interior and the MoMA Alpina 4-spoke steering wheel.
That is insane.
But the owner had bought a new old stock or a better conditioned Alpina wheel to put in the car to sell the car. And the original one, which all the leather was all torn and there's like electrical tape on like top dead center on it.
Yeah.
But the metal and the horn button are perfect. But the leather around the exterior, the wrapping, is just like super, super worn and awful. And my friend Danny, who was helping sell the car, gave me the steering wheel. He goes, this you should keep it. I know you collect steering wheels, you should have it. And I'm like, well, that's awesome, man. So my plan was to get it refurbed at some point and just hang it on the wall with the other steering wheels.
Nope, it's got a new home.
Dude, how perfect is that? Because the wheel that's in the 6 Series is like the same OEM one that was in my 7. It's just like the big 4-spoke OEM wheel. It's like super boring. It's got the little BMW logo in it. And so now the plan is get a Momo hub for that steering column and put that Alpina wheel in the car as it is.
Yes.
Not restored.
No.
Old tattered Alpina Momo racing steering wheel that came out of a 7 Series BMW of the same year as the E24. And just, keep the interior super tattered and worn. And
that's it, man.
Holy cow. Yeah.
Full circle.
We got to get this Polo done. I want to get on the 6 Series so bad. Man.
Yeah.
Well, enough about the 6 Series. I'll let's go over a couple questions.
Yeah, sounds good.
Again, like I said, this will be a short episode. I put out an Instagram story yesterday asking for some questions. A bunch of you guys answered the call. I haven't even looked at these questions yet, but in the story I had a photo of the 6 Series and basically just said ask podcast questions, which I just meant any question at all, but a lot of the questions were involving the 6 Series, so I kind of answered a lot of those leading up to this point. Like TD's asked, I'm glad you're going to work on it. I'm glad you're going to keep it and work on it. Another one said from TD's, what are the chances of you getting the 6 Series down for Helen this year? In 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past me to try, but it's not happening.
Yeah, we'll drive that and the Polo down.
Yeah, seriously. Jeffrey Caves. Huge shout out to Jeffrey. Jeffrey has been messaging me a lot lately about some E24 parts that he has that he'd be willing to let go for this project, which is awesome.
Heck yeah.
He says, does it have the 3.45 side loader differential? Which I don't know yet. I do not know to answer that question. It'd be cool because everything else has been falling into place for all the rare motorsport bits that are on that car. And like what Jeff said, and I haven't looked this up yet, but he said that the side loader diff is like the rare motorsport bred
I wouldn't
part.
be surprised.
Me neither. No, it's a CSI with a dog box and the big 6 in it. So it's got to have all that stuff in it. What's the name on this? Benjamin Michael Spencer, it's a long one, says, how's the air ride install coming on the Polo? It's coming along.
It is.
Literally, the reason why this is a short episode is because, well, you've got to get out of here, but I've got to get going on that project. We wired the car yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
I think this episode will be before that episode, unless I hammer tonight and get that episode up for tomorrow morning, and then this is live Monday. But the more recent YouTube video of the Polo is us wiring it, getting knuckles painted and cleaned up. Yeah, probably plumbing it, running airline. And yeah, so it's coming along. I'm hoping to have air in, plumbed, and all done this upcoming week.
Wheels soon too, right?
So I don't remember if I covered this in the last podcast episode, but
I think you mentioned it, but it was
yeah,
just
that it
brief.
might be a possibility.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm working with Rotiform on this project. So huge shout out to Jason Whipple and everyone at Rotiform for coming on board. This has been huge. So we are custom building some wheels for the Polo. And I can't stress it enough. I keep forgetting to keep hyping this up, but I'm going to give that car away. Car's going to be a giveaway.
Yeah.
So somebody, and I haven't sorted out the logistics yet. That'll be one of those deals where every $20, every $10 or $20 you spend on the web store, you get an entry to win the car.
Yep.
No multipliers, no nothing. Just for like a month or however long it goes, all the products you buy on the Ludwig's Garage Governors Club web store gets you an entry to win the car. And all of the hard goods, as you already know,
Oh yeah.
key rings, hangers, mirror hangers, all the hard goods that are on the web store, I make myself. So all the products you will be buying to win this car are products that I made myself. So even people who don't end up winning the car are buying products that I'm putting all my effort into.
You get your money's worth. You're not losing, even if you don't win the car.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these are products that I'm spending the wee hours of the morning in my shop making by hand,
Yeah.
with tender love and care. Yeah. So, but anyway, so working with Rotiform on that project, building a set of period correct looking wheels. I can't wait to see those wheels in the car.
Yeah.
Tires showed up. 3 of the 4 tires showed up.
Math.
So hoping, math is hard. How many wheels on a car? I joked that
Reliant Robin.
I was joking that I was building a Reliant Robin,
Yeah.
a 3-wheeler.
Yeah. It's an Izetta.
Yeah, so wheels I'm hoping wheels are in by the end of the week. We'll see about that. Yeah, it's coming along. It's coming along. I haven't even driven the car down the road yet. I bought it from Ross and just brought it to the shop, put it up on the lift, and just tore everything out from under it.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it runs well or
Yeah.
know.
We got some maintenance stuff to do too that'll help it run. So
Yeah, shout out to Steve Paris in Wales too for letting me buy a bunch of maintenance stuff for the Polo that you can't buy in America.
Yeah.
And have it sent to his house, but that hasn't happened. He hasn't even seen the parts yet, and I'm like, ooh, the longest transit time is still waiting, like to go from him to me across the ocean.
yeah.
So hopefully that goes quickly.
Yeah.
'Cause I'd like to get that thing running, and I can make a decision. Are we going to drive this car all the way to Georgia, or is it smarter to trailer it? Because I haven't even driven this down the road once. Like, I don't even know. I haven't even looked at the timing belt yet.
Yeah.
I haven't even had the cover off.
No,
That thing might be
I started to yesterday. And
Did you?
Yeah, and I got distracted.
Yeah. I haven't even looked at it.
Yeah.
It might be like, oh yeah, that's not driving to Georgia. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
More questions here. Arndt from Norway. So Arndt's a friend, but I want to make sure I say his handle correctly. Arndt, as in ARNT. Stustuo? If he's listening, he's like, this is all wrong. He's from Norway. STUESTOEL. Now, Arndt has at least 2, but I think 3. I think it's 3.
Yeah, it's 3. Well, it's like 2.5. It's a
it's 3.
It's 3.
But I can't remember if that's. I can't. Yeah. I regardless, even just having 1 is nuts. But he's got a Mercedes 190E Evolution 1, an Evo 1, and they only built 502 of those cars, and he's got 2 of them, and I think 3. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure his brother or cousin, somebody in his family, had an Evo 2.
Yeah,
which was
they're
still one
always
of the
together. Yeah.
Yeah, which was still one of the 502 ever built, which is bonkers. So he says, why did you pick this one, the 6 Series, over an Evo? With like a laughing emoji face. I'm like, yeah, because I didn't have $100,000 to buy an Evo.
To buy a crashed Evo.
Oh my gosh. Truls Venman says, so static dad, will there be belly scraping on custom coilovers making your spine with like a bomb explosion emoji?
Accurate.
Yep. The 6er will be static. And as Zach DePiero and Truls and a bunch of other guys would say, static dad is returning.
Yep.
Static dad. Yeah, it's going to be static. Yeah, BJ McCardle says, how many rare cars have you saved now? have you managed to find all of these awesome projects? Some of them, as I just mentioned on this 6 series, some of them just fall in your lap.
Literally.
It's so crazy. When we were at the skate park this morning, we saw my old friend Jake Linville, and he was like, he's asked the same thing. How do you find these cars? And he goes, well, it seems like you got plenty of contacts. I'm like, this is the thing. The people I know, I don't look at them as contacts.
Yeah.
Like Nick is just the skateboarder.
Exactly.
An old friend of mine, but he's a skateboarder. Like I know him. He's a contact, but like I told Jake, it's not like I've got a Rolodex cards of like when I feel like I need more punishment of like projects. I'm like, oh, I wonder who's got like an old car out laying out in the woods. I'm just hanging out at the skate park, and Nick's like, hey man, you like old BMWs?
Yeah.
I'm like, here we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, sometimes they just fall in your lap, and I think having your ear to the ground helps too. I think just being receptive to like just conversating with people, or conversing with people. You get talking about stuff, and then they're like, well, I think Bob down the street there has got like an old bus out in the woods, and you're like, oh really?
Yeah, and they see you with the other cars, you know.
Right.
So like, yeah, you like old cars, right?
I guess I do. What do you got?
Surprise.
Let me see. Tire Problems, who sent in the I mispronounced or mistook the name of the root beer he sent. It was not Bear Claw. It was no, I forgot again. I'm not even going to attempt.
Yeah,
but he's the first root beer review I did.
Gotcha.
Ever thought of building car parts to sell? No, I've thought about it, but I don't want to do it. So back when I first bagged my 190, end of 2012, early 2013, there weren't a lot of bagged. I hadn't seen any. Patrick Streak, I think is his last name, in Berlin, Germany.
That's right.
Had one.
Yep.
He was like the only guy I could find on the internet that had a bagged 190. So there was no real info about building an air kit for him. So I just custom built mine. And immediately when I started posting photos, the Bag Riders boys were like, hey, we get a lot of people asking like what kit is in that car. This is before, what's his name at Commonwealth was doing them. And where was I going with this? I felt bad for saying what's his name. I'm like, I should know Commonwealth's name.
I don't even know his name, and I talk to him frequently.
It's Commonwealth Customs or whatever on
It's
Classics. Commonwealth Classics.
Commonwealth Chassis Works.
Oh, he changed it.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, that being said, he makes a 190 kit that you have in your 190.
Yep.
But the guys at Bag Riders were like, are you interested in like making like kits for these cars and we'll buy them in bulk and just ship them? And I was like, no, I didn't even think about it. I'm like, no, don't want to do it. I don't want to make control arms.
Scary.
Yep. I don't want to like weld up control arms that I'm just sending out into the world, assuming that everyone who buys one is installing them correctly. And I was like, no, because I don't have insurance on any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess with it.
It's a liability for sure.
Yeah. So the cars I'm putting together, I feel are done safely. And when you buy the car, the bill of sale says bought as is, as seen, with all faults.
Yeah.
No warranties expressed nor implied.
Yep.
So, but I want to make sure that what I'm building is safe. But I don't really feel like building control arms or parts and selling them, unless they were aesthetic parts. Aesthetic parts, I'm into. But anything structural or drivetrain related, I'm all set. Here's a good one. This one is one that we can both answer.
Okay.
Fettermax says, do you prefer big wheels or small classic JDM wheels?
It's the car.
All. Yeah.
Comes down to the car, always.
And I mean, I think the wheels can make that same car look good in two different lights, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd say small Japanese wheels, but there's something about a big set of 18-inch BBS LMs too.
I know, right?
Or like big OZ Futuras.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them all. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah, there was I don't even remember the car. At Riverside, Chattanooga, there's a car on the 20-inch Futuras.
Yep.
And Aiden and I were just geeking over those wheels for a while.
I can't remember what car that was, but at Simply Clean 2 years ago in Daytona, there was a white Honda Accord there that had 20-inch Futuras on it.
Yeah, the car was white, so it might have been the same car.
Could have been, yeah. So we saw that car, and they're OEM or OE, OZ 20-inch Futuras. Like they weren't stepped up from 19 or anything.
No.
Like wild.
Yeah, flat lip
and
20-inch Futuras.
Those wheels were for sale for a little bit, and the guy wanted like $6,500 for them.
I mean, yeah, I get it.
It's the only, where are you going to go find another set?
Exactly.
That's crazy. Let's see. Eric Michael says, now that you secured a shop up north, have you decided that New Hampshire is home for good, or any plans to still move south like you have mentioned?
Good question.
It is a good question. And for anyone who's actually interested in that answer, I still want to move south. The winters here are so hard to be in the cars. They really are.
It snowed the other day.
Yeah, we're almost into May.
Yeah.
And it snowed, and I watched a state truck drive by my house dumping salt on the road.
Yeah.
Which means you don't drive the cars until another good few days of rain to wash the roads off. So walking the shop in up here was to like be able to continue moving on with my car projects at the pace I want to work on them while I'm here. Because I don't have a date set for when I'm going to move south. Shout out to Andy Bailey, who I'm trying to move into his house /buy/ haven't been working on my credit all these years. Now that I want to buy a house, I'm like, oh,
take cash?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll liquidate a bunch of stuff. Yeah, so I don't have a date for when I want to go down there, but I'm working things out with Andy. I'm hoping some stuff comes together there.
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where, the shop's allowing me to move forward with the projects I have now, because my dad has a lot of projects going on in his shop. And in the past, I've just worked on my stuff in his shop whenever he's got the bay open. He's a 2-bay shop, but a 1-bay with a lift. And then when I do have an opportunity to go in there, it's like a weekend, a few days or whatever.
Jam.
And I feel like I'm always rushed, and he doesn't rush me, but I just feel rushed to get my projects and junk in and out of his shop. So now, like, the Polo has just been on that lift for the last 2 weeks. No big deal.
Yeah, it's nice.
Like, just tinkering on it, and I don't have to like get it rolling again by the end of the week or something. So the shop space is just, temporary. Like, it's nice to have it. It makes me feel a little bit better about being up here in bad weather situations. But yeah, the plan is to definitely move south. I'd like to go to Chattanooga. And I love being close to my family up here. I really do. But I don't have a social life up here. I mean, you live an hour away, but that's like the closest. Yeah, I mean, and it's 6 months of car storage out of the year, and you can't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't like the snow and the cold. And let's see, a few more. We'll do a couple more quick ones.
Yeah.
Let me see. O'Keefe the Chief says OEM Plus Vision or something a little crazier. Yeah, so I kind of covered that one. Yeah, kind of OEM Plus. OEM Plus, super low, period correct BBS motorsport wheels. Yeah, like I want that car to look like it rolled into someone's garage in 1985, and I just rolled it out, changed the oil, and we're running it, you know? Yeah, I'd like it to be as period correct as possible. Jack R. Lawrence, have you ever heard of the band Knuckle Puck? If so, do you like them?
Yeah, we like Knuckle Puck.
Yeah, we have. We like Knuckle Puck.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. My buddy Ian Bresnahan, Ibress, Shredder, BMX Shredder, used to live in Keene. I don't know where he is now, but when does work begin on the cab over? The cab over, in all caps.
In all caps.
Hopefully before the 6 Series, but I can't make any promises.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I know, it's killing me. Matt Tez says, patina or perfect paint, what's your preference? Depends on the car. It really does.
Comes down to the
like
car.
My 7 Series was beautiful in Cypress Green.
Yep.
Like that was just a beautiful car, no rust. But the 6 Series, if you wanted to like showroom condition that car, you'd have so much work to do.
Yeah.
So much work. So leaving it like patinaed but structurally sound is like in my opinion, the best way to go about it, because one, you're not spending dozens of thousands of dollars in restoration and paint work. But 2, the car's got way more character as it is. It tells more of like a unique story about why it's sat.
And it doesn't look like a single other one.
Exactly.
Yep.
That might be it. Let's see. Frangione says, I know it doesn't matter in New Hampshire with a car this old, the 6 Series, but did you secure the title for this gal? So no, I didn't. But the best thing about New Hampshire is since anything older than 2000 is exempt from title, that you can apply for an antique title for any car. So what I'll end up doing before I sell the car, if I ever sell the car, I'll apply for an antique title. So I'll have a new open title for the car if I ever sell it.
Yep.
But no, I'm surprised I got the receipts and the paperwork that I did get with that car. Yeah. GTI Project says, do you regret selling your parts hoard from the last BMW, last E23, now that another one is home? Yeah, I kind of do.
Yeah.
But isn't that the case?
That's
every
always,
time.
Of course.
I've got a shed full of rare Euro parts that's worth money, and work got slow for a little bit. And it's beginning of the pandemic. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I should sell this stuff. I've got money sitting in my shed. So I sold 2 front Euro bumpers, 2 front valences, the Racing Dynamics valence, the Racing Dynamics wing, a bunch of Euro trim, Euro grill, E23 Euro grills with the larger low beam headlight cutouts.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But I sold all that stuff for like a couple $1,000s. So
Yeah,
this was a great sell.
Yeah, paid your bills and it was necessary. So,
But now that all that stuff's gone and I've got another Euro car with the same front end, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
figures.
of course.
But luckily, the Euro bits that are on that car are good and usable.
Yep.
That'll probably do it, dude. We did just under an hour.
Cool.
I know you got to get out of here.
Yeah, no worries.
It's a nice day, too, and I got to get stuff done on the Polo.
You got some welding to do.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm gonna just MIG weld them up here at my dad's shop.
Totally fine.
But Nick said, since I haven't done a lot of TIG welding, Nick's like, come on up. We'll get you to TIG weld those things up.
Get you schooled.
Yeah, the first few passes I ever TIG welded was up at Nick's shop, and Nick, as I told you, used to teach machining and welding classes at like a community school.
Yeah.
And Nick's like, those are the best first TIG welding passes I've ever seen anyone do. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Boosting my comment. I'm like, you told every student that. And he goes,
Yeah.
I definitely did not.
Yeah. I can only imagine.
Yeah, he's pretty see-through.
He's seen some shite.
Yeah, he's like, I'd definitely tell him if they were garbage. You should probably focus on something else because this is a losing battle. So yeah, so it felt good to hear him say like, I think you've got a lot of potential. He goes, this is like, you've got it. You've got the hang of it. I'm like, well, I don't. But yeah, so I might go up there. It'd be cool to film that, to kind of film like, all right, here's like the first time I'm actually TIG welding.
Yeah.
And this is what's crazy. I've had all the opportunity. We've got a TIG welder in my dad's shop. I just I don't do that for like a job. Like the only time when I'm ready to weld something is when it counts on a project of mine that has to be done to drive halfway across the country in 3 weeks. So I just MIG weld it because that's what I've always done.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm like, oh, I should take a couple weeks to like learn how to TIG weld first and then TIG weld what matters on my car that needs to be done in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So with being self-employed and everything being so crazy, I should take like Tuesdays and Thursday nights. I should be down in the shop for a couple hours those nights TIG welding. That way, when I have a project that calls for something being TIG welded, I'm like, I've been practicing for the last 3 years. I'm good at this now.
Yeah.
Instead, I kind of don't know what I'm doing, so maybe I won't.
I don't know how,
that's why everything's been MIG welded. And so maybe I go up to Nick's today. I don't know. I gotta call him when this is over and see what he's up to. But it's a beautiful Saturday. It's supposed to be like 70 degrees today. Not bad. Oh, you want to do a quick root beer review?
Yeah, we could do that.
All right. So I kept forgetting about this. This episode's root beer review is, let me just double check here who we're doing here.
Brought to you by
Kyle Ames, at Kyle Ames, KYLEAMES. And he sent me a package of Old Soaker.
Yes.
Root beer, and I don't think I've had this one yet. So as I said before, some people have been sending some root beers that I have had, and that's awesome because I can still review them. So we're gonna do Old Soaker. Let me get a question going here that you can talk about.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll just clip it. I'll clip it when I edit it.
All right.
That way there's not like because there are no other questions.
We'll be right back.
Yeah. I'll edit it in post. I only had a banana and like that little French crawler, so I'm hungry.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. Okay, Bar Harbor Old Soaker root beer. So I'm assuming this is from Maine. Enjoy Bar Harbor's favorite. Yeah, it's got to be Maine. All right, let's see here.
At least it's not Wisconsin.
Yeah, poor you. Poor you in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Thanks for the jab last episode.
I got a lot of people messaging me on that because
Yeah,
I shared
me too.
that clip on the
They'd
story.
send it to me and be like, "Oh, he didn't have to do him like that."
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but when I said, "Oh, it's from Wisconsin," I was almost waiting. You're like, oh, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I said it under my breath, but yeah.
Oh, into the microphone.
I know.
Okay, so distributed by Atlantic Brewing Company, Bar Harbor in Portland, Maine.
Nice.
So this is next door to us. Kyle was actually, I remember he messaged me on Instagram and he was up there and he's like, hey, have you had this root beer? And I'm like, I don't think I have. He's
That's
like,
cool.
oh, I'll mail you a couple.
Yep.
So shout out to Kyle Ames. We're going to partake. Is it Twist Off? It's not. There we go. OG.
Nice. Brown bottle.
All right. Yep. So yeah, we got a brown bottle, which as you guys know is the ones I like to collect. I feel like the root beer always tastes better in the brown bottle too. So you guys might not be able to see it on the camera well, but nice little simple label. Bar Harbor, Maine. Here we go. One sip. You all know the rules. Get this thing poured. Oh, it's real light.
It is, yeah.
It's a real light color. This is not like a dark root beer. Wow, look at how light that is. Again, 5 months after COVID, my taste is still unreliable, but I can taste root beer. So, all right, Prost.
Prost.
Bottoms up, one sip. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. It's got a good aftertaste.
Let's see.
It's got
One
some
more.
good foam that gets stuck in the mustache.
All right. So it's light. It looks light, but it tastes light. It doesn't have that real dark, stout taste.
Yeah.
That real full-bodied like root beer taste. It's real carbonated. A lot of times when you get them off draft, it's not as carbonated, and you get like a better taste of the flavor. Yeah, it's let's see. Number going for a rating here.
I like it.
I'm gonna give that one. I think I gave it was Grizzly Paw was the one that
Grizzly Paw.
that Braden sent us tire problems. I gave that a 7.5, and now in my opinion 7.5 is good.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And what did we give the Maple Sprecher, a 9? Holy cow, I went to a 9 already. Yeah, because that was, oh my gosh, that was phenomenal. Old Soaker, I'm gonna have to give this one a 7. I'm giving it a 7.
It's good. There's some other
Yeah.
flavors in there. I'm trying to pinpoint.
Ingredients: carbonated water, too much of it in my opinion. A little too fizzy for my taste for root beer. Pure cane sugar, other natural flavors. Yeah. And there's a preservative in here. Benzoate. Yeah, I mean, I'd drink it. It's definitely not my favorite.
Yeah, it's good though.
I'd give it a 7 if I really thought about it. I'd probably give it a 6.5. I'm not going to downgrade it though.
No,
But-
7's good.
Yeah, I'd say 7. It's light. I would enjoy it. I don't know how else to. I think as I do more of these reviews, I'll have better terms that I like just make up for the root beer, and I'm like, oh, well, this is why I like this one, and this is why I like that.
It's got a nutty
good
aftertaste.
Yeah, it's got a nice smell. I mean, it smells like root beer, but you know how it is. Different ones smell differently. I probably didn't need to put the ice in it because that's all people are going to be able to hear is like the clinking of the ice. And yes, it should have the root beer straight up, no junk in it. But because obviously the water will dilute it a little bit. But yeah, that's it. Old Soaker, Kyle Ames, thanks so much, man. Got a few more that people have sent in. I'm going to try to. I wanted to start doing them on the YouTube channels, the YouTube videos, because I'm doing more of those than the podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm filming those as I'm like scrambling around in the shop and stuff, and half the time I don't have the root beer with me, and so this is the best time to do it. And if you're on with me, I've got like a second like root beer
Yeah.
nerd to like kind of taste it as well.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
Ludwig's Garage Gear and Governor's Club Gear is still live. There's links in the description. thegovernorsclub.bigcartel.com. There's still some of these Ludwig's Garage t-shirts and long sleeves available. New keyring stickers. Some of the stuff that I made for Riverside, I've remade and put on the web store. So head there. There's a link to the web store on the Ludwig's Garage Instagram. John.Ludwig on Instagram. Limitless_Corey. That's it. Short and sweet episode. Thanks for listening. We will see you guys in the next episode.
Yep. See ya.
Cheers up. Cheers. Bottoms up. I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, cheers. Bye.
Bye.
I don't know what's happening.
Cheers up. That's the new.
Cheers up. Cheers up.